Hello, fellow Benghazi. Please stand by for an important message. Some 3 years ago, the Bundy Fest Central Body may or may not have created an event calling for Operation American Spring on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. on May 16th of 2014. On the OAS Facebook page, the event is announced as a restoration of the 9th and 10th Amendments. First, some background on the 9th and 10th Amendments. In the years following the adoption of the Constitution, America was an idyllic playground, a haven for anarchy, if you will, just as the Founding Fathers had intended. This was in part because the 9th and 10th Amendments prohibited the federal government from interfering with the power of the states or white males from oppressing anybody in any way that they saw fit. Some states, for example, would prohibit Jews from running for office. Others would prohibit Irishmen or Catholics. This guaranteed each state the maximum ability to oppress anybody they wanted to oppress as God intended. In addition, men were free to own other men, so long as the owners were white and the ownees were black. Presumably, men could have owned men of other colors, Italians or Jews. Unfortunately, the gay issue was never mentioned at the time, so it's kind of difficult to find out whether the standards of men owning women would have applied, say, to men owning men of a different color. You owned women the same way you owned goats. Could you do the same things? Shading and accent was all very important. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. Now, on the Operation American Spring website, which we may or may not have created, Abraham Lincoln is quoted as follows: "We can become a nation guided by royalty if we, the people, beguiled by government, surrender to our lusts. We can very easily heap ourselves unto leaders, and with itching ears be turned from the truth to become enslaved instead by the lie." Now, it may seem odd to include this quote from Lincoln in an effort to restore the 9th and 10th Amendments, given that Lincoln championed the 13th Amendment, and that his protege, Congressman John Bingham, brought the 14th Amendment to fruition. These two amendments together effectively abolished the 9th and 10th Amendment. The 13th Amendment ended slavery, while the 14th Amendment guaranteed equal protection to all citizens across all the states, regardless of what state they're in. However, if that quote is taken out of context, I assure you that it still applies today to this struggle somehow. Operation American Spring moves forward. We're all asking all faithful members of the Bundy Fest militia to make themselves seen and heard on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. on May 16th. We'll be fighting for a full restoration of anarchy, and we are going to be joined by our brothers in arms on the right. I have appealed to them ahead of time under different banners, obviously, but we're still looking at the same rights. If we are able to restore the 9th and 10th, that would be the end of the Defense of Marriage Act. That would ensure the overturning of the prohibition of marijuana nationwide. Also, a woman's right to choose would be completely protected. The federal government wouldn't have any part in that. And we also want to encourage the states' rights to establish their own individual, single-payer, socialized, free-for-everybody healthcare systems. So very exciting stuff. We're going to be standing shoulder to shoulder with all our brothers. We don't want to stand out from them. We want to be unified. So anybody that you see under the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, I want you to know that they're standing shoulder to shoulder with you in support of gay rights, in support of a woman's right to choose, and all of the rest of it that we've discussed. So just make sure that we're indistinguishable from them. Now, we've had to be somewhat ambiguous on the location. Some have said, well, if we go to Washington, D.C., we're going to end up being droned. If we go to Nevada, we should do it there, but we could end up being droned. Now, listen, folks, it doesn't matter where we're droned, okay? What matters is that we are droned. The important thing is that our children know that we perished fighting for the freedom of the individual or the state to commit tyranny without being oppressed by a dictatorial federal government. So we're going to fly under that banner, and we're going to see you in Washington, D.C. on May 16th. Brothers, thank you so much for joining in this cause. We'll see you then.